In the quiet district of Phra Khanong, just outside the bustling heart of old Bangkok, lies a small riverside village drenched in mist and memory. In the mid-19th century, the village was a peaceful place, where time moved slowly and people whispered more than they spoke. But among the villagers, one tale was shared only in hushed tones after sunset, the legend of Mae Nak. They said she still watched over the village, her presence lingering like the scent of night jasmine. Children were warned not to stray near the old tamarind tree, and elders avoided the riverbank after dark. She waits, they would say. She mourns. Most considered it just folklore, a ghost story to frighten the young. But there were those who had seen things, strange things. The story begins with Nak, a beautiful woman with long flowing hair and eyes that sparkled like moonlight on the water. She was kind, gentle, and dearly loved by her husband, Mak, a young man drafted into military service during one of Siam's minor wars. The couple lived in a small wooden house by the river, surrounded by banana trees and the soft songs of crickets. When Mak left for war, Nak was pregnant, and though her heart ached with loneliness, she remained strong. Letters were sent and received, promises exchanged, and hope kept alive. But one rainy night, under the shadow of the tamarind tree, Nak went into labor. The birth was difficult, and the midwife said the air turned cold when the baby cried for the first time. What truly happened that night, no one could agree upon. Some said Nak died during childbirth. Others claimed both mother and child passed together. But when Mak returned months later, he found Nak waiting at the door, with their baby in her arms, smiling like nothing had changed. To the villagers, it was a miracle. To some, it was a curse. Mak returned home exhausted from war, with wounds, both visible and buried deep within. As he walked the narrow path along the river, the air thick with the scent of wet earth and orchids, he feared the worst. The war had kept him away for months, and he had received no word since Nak's last letter. His heart pounded as the wooden outline of their home came into view, and then he saw her. Nak stood at the doorway, wrapped in a soft, pale shawl, cradling a tiny baby in her arms. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and her voice, as she called out to him, was the same melody that had haunted his dreams. Overwhelmed, Mak ran to her, tears falling freely as he embraced his wife and newborn son. It was as though time had frozen, and the horrors of war had melted away. For weeks, life seemed perfect. Mak spent his days in peace, repairing the house, fishing by the river, and holding his son close. Nak cooked his favorite meals, laughed at his stories, and sang lullabies that soothed their baby to sleep. To Mak, everything felt just right. Too right. But in the village, whispers began to stir. Some neighbors claimed they saw Nak floating inches above the ground when she walked at night. Others swore her shadow moved even when she stood still. An old woman who had once helped with Nak's prenatal care grew pale when she saw her and muttered prayers under her breath. Mak dismissed it all as nonsense. War had made people superstitious, fearful. He believed in what he could touch, what he could see, his wife's warm hands, his baby's soft breath. Still, when he looked into Nak's eyes for too long, there was something different, a depth he couldn't explain, a sadness she never spoke of. One evening, Mak's friend Prid, who had known the couple since childhood, visited with a troubled look. "Mak," he whispered, leaning in close, "you need to come with me. There's something you must see." Mak laughed it off, but Pride insisted. "It's not a joke. You think Nak's alive, but what if she's not?" Mak's heart pounded, his joy cracking for the first time. He looked toward his home, where a gentle lullaby echoed through the night, and for the briefest second he saw a shadow moving behind the curtain, even though Nak had not moved at all. That night, Mak couldn't sleep. The words of his friend. Pride echoed in his mind like a drumbeat. "You think Nak's alive, but what if she's not?" He watched Nak as she fed the baby by candlelight, her face serene, glowing in the flickering shadows. She hummed a lullaby, the same one she used to sing before he left for the war. It was beautiful. But now even beauty frightened him. Was this real, or had grief twisted his senses? The next morning, Mak followed Prid to the village temple. The monk there, an old man named Luang Pho Tien, listened in silence as Prid spoke. When the tale was done, the monk sat still for a long time before finally speaking. "She died, Mak," the monk said gently. "Your wife and child passed away months ago. We performed their funeral rites. We prayed for their souls." Mak staggered back. "No, I held her, I kissed her, she's alive. They're both alive." But the monk shook his head. "Not everything that walks among us is truly living." With trembling hands, Prid pulled out an old scrap of fabric, a funeral cloth. "We buried them here," he said. "You can see for yourself." Mak refused. He stormed out of the temple, heart pounding, ears ringing. Could grief make a man forget reality? Could love blind someone so completely? Back at home, Nak greeted him with her usual soft smile. She kissed his cheek, asked if he'd eaten, placed a warm bowl of rice in front of him. Everything was the same, comforting, familiar. But now, doubt coiled itself around every moment. That night, as Mak lay beside her, he stayed awake long after she drifted to sleep. He watched her chest rise and fall, watched the way she cradled their baby. Everything looked so natural. But he remembered the way her shadow had moved on its own, the way the neighbor's dog had howled and refused to come near the house. The way no one in the village dared to meet her eyes. He closed his own eyes tightly, whispering a silent prayer. And then, sometime near midnight, he woke to the sound of something falling in the kitchen. Slowly, he crept from bed, careful not to wake Nak. As he stepped into the moonlit kitchen, he saw it, clearly, a long, pale arm reaching impossibly far to pick something up from the floor. It was Nak, but her arm stretched unnaturally far beyond what a human body should allow, and when she turned around, her eyes were hollow, black, and she smiled. Mak gasped. She froze. The room fell silent. Mak didn't remember how he got back into bed. His breath was shallow, heart pounding like a war drum. Nak lay beside him again, peacefully, as if nothing had happened. But he couldn't shake what he had seen, her arm stretching like a shadow. Across the room, those hollow, empty eyes, and that smile, cold and unnatural. The next morning, the village was silent. People avoided Mak. No one greeted him. No one returned his gaze. Only one man dared to approach, a monk from the temple, a younger disciple of Luang Pho Tien. "Mak," he said quietly, "you must come. We've prepared a ritual. It's the only way to know the truth." Mak hesitated. Could he really believe it? Could Nak, the woman he loved with all his heart, be something else? Every moment with her felt real, every touch, every kiss, but the kitchen scene haunted him. He knew, deep down, something was wrong. That evening, Mak made a decision. He told Nak he needed to visit a friend. She simply nodded, brushing his hair aside with a smile. "Come back before dark," she whispered. "You know the baby gets fussy without you." Her voice was gentle, but it echoed in his ears long after he left. At the temple, Mak stood in front of an ancient shrine surrounded by candles. The monks chanted softly, incense curling like spirits in the air. The head monk handed him a small charm made of dried herbs and bone, wrapped in silk. "Keep this with you," he said. "It will protect you and reveal the truth." Mak returned home before the moon had risen high. The charm burned in his pocket like a live ember. He opened the door. Nak stood waiting, holding the baby. But when he looked closer, really looked, he saw that the baby's body was too still. Its head drooped, as if it were a doll. Mak backed. "Away! What's wrong, my love?" Nak asked, stepping forward. Mak's hand instinctively clutched the charm. As she came closer, the candlelight flickered wildly, then went out. In the sudden darkness, Nak's form changed. Her skin turned pale as ash, her eyes widened, pupils vanishing, her smile stretched unnaturally wide. "You weren't supposed to know," she whispered. The room twisted. The air turned cold. The baby let out a cry, a high, shrieking sound not of this world. Mac turned and ran. Mac ran like a man possessed. The village was dark, the paths twisted by moonlight and fear. Behind him, he heard the soft patter of bare feet, fast, steady, relentless. It was Nak, but not the Nak he had married. This was something else, something ancient and broken. Her voice called after him, sweet and cold, like the wind through. "A graveyard. Come home, Mac. We're a family." He didn't look back. With the charm clutched tightly in his hand, Mac sprinted toward the temple. Lanterns glowed dimly in the distance, and with every step he prayed harder, repeating the name of the monk like a lifeline. Luang Po Tien, Luang Po Tien. Behind him, trees bent unnaturally, and the air was pierced by a shriek, sharp, furious, inhuman. The temple gates opened just as Mac stumbled forward, collapsing at the steps. The monks rushed to pull him inside, slamming the heavy wooden doors shut behind them. He could still hear her outside, whispering, weeping, pleading. "She doesn't want to hurt you," one monk said softly, "but she doesn't know she's gone." Mac, pale and trembling, stared at the ground. "Why did she come back? Why me?" The elder monk stepped forward, lighting incense and drawing ancient symbols in a bowl of ash. "Sometimes love is too strong," he said. "Even death cannot break it, but when a spirit clings too tightly it becomes a shadow, a ghost tied to pain. Mae Nak died with love in her heart, but also fear of losing you." Mac lowered his eyes. "I need to set her free," he whispered. The monks nodded. "There is a way." That night, they returned to the riverbank near the tamarind tree, where Nak had once stood with their baby in her arms. The place where she had died. A ritual circle was drawn, candles flickered in the wind, and the monks began to chant, their voices deep and steady, calling to the spirit that lingered in the veil between life and death. And she came. Nak appeared, slowly from the shadows, cradling her baby. Her face was no longer twisted in rage. It was sorrowful, broken. She walked toward Mac, tears streaming from hollow eyes. "I waited for you," she whispered. "I kept us safe. I wanted our life back." Mac stepped forward, holding out the charm, his voice cracking. "You died, Nak, but I never stopped loving you. It's time to let go." She paused. The baby in her arms faded like smoke. Her form flickered in the candlelight. "Will I see you again?" she asked, her voice like wind through leaves. "In dreams," Mac said. "And in the river, and in the stars." Nak smiled softly, and with one final breath she faded into the night, her spirit lifted by the monk's chants, finally free. The winds along the river softened as dawn approached, whispering through. The banana trees like a lullaby from the other side. The ritual circle had burned low, the monks' voices quiet now, leaving only silence and peace. Mac stood alone beneath the ancient tamarind tree, the very place where Nak had once gone into. Labor, where life and death had crossed paths. He could still feel her presence, not as a shadow, not as a ghost, but as something gentler, like warmth left behind in the air. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer, not of fear or sorrow, but of gratitude. "I'm sorry it took me so long to understand," he said softly. "Thank you for waiting." The village began to wake with the first light. People stepped from their homes slowly, cautiously, but when they saw the monks returning, heads bowed in prayer, and Mac walking among them, not haunted, not broken, but whole, they understood. The curse was lifted. Mae Nak, the spirit who had once held on so tightly to her love, had found release. Her legend would live on, whispered by generations under the full moon, not as a tale of horror, but as one of love so powerful it defied death itself. Mac continued to live in the village, quietly, humbly. He tended to the tamarind tree, placing fresh flowers at its base each month, and sometimes on cool nights, when the river mist rolled in and crickets sang beneath the stars, he would hear a soft lullaby on the breeze. He never married again, because some loves, he knew, never truly, and